It was the year 2015 and a rising star was shining on the horizon. You could only know of him by the trail of destruction he left in his wake. For those who saw him approach, he appeared to be a true monster sent from Kazakhstan. As his popularity rose, even the best middleweight fighters were fearful of facing him, afraid to tarnish their professional records. Still, few thought Gennadiy Golovkin could truly be a challenge once he reached those leagues featured on television. And, like every good warrior, Golovkin knew he had to prove it with actions, not words. Thus, after all the uproar the topic stirred in the community, an opponent was confirmed on July 26th. David Lemieux. Welcome. In today's video, we'll relive one of the harshest moments in the Canadian's professional career when Gennadiy Golovkin left him bloodied and unsteady. I advise caution. The images you're about to see are not for the faint of heart. Content. The Canadian was not just another step in Golovkin's ascent to glory. By the time they faced each other, his professional record boasted 34 wins, 31 of them by the hard route of knockout. This history served as proof of the fearsome punching power he was credited with. Even so, Golovkin already held an undisputed reign among middleweights with significant victories. Yet, in retrospect, none of his previous opponents could be considered a true test. So, when the Canadian knockout artist was announced as his opponent, it was seen as the toughest challenge Golovkin had faced at the time. Before the fight, Lemieux appeared very self-assured, unafraid to tell anyone who asked how he would dethrone Golovkin without difficulty. Meanwhile, Golovkin knew it was wise to let his fists speak louder than words and avoided any kind of verbal provocation towards his opponent. Despite his cocky attitude, Prefight odds showed little confidence in Lemieux. With a 7-to-1 probability, Golovkin was the overwhelming favorite. However, this would not be the most discouraging prediction we'd see. Beyond that, David would have to prove he had the determination to swim against the tide. After all, anything is possible in the ring. The only certainty surrounding this bout was that it would be a contest etched into the modern chapters of boxing's golden history. Lemieux entered the ring composed without showing any hint of fear at the challenge that would soon confront him from the opposite corner. New York's great Madison Square Garden was ready to witness another historic moment in the sport. With Steve Willis as the third man in the ring, the fight began. The fight round 1. After the sound of the bell, Golovkin demonstrated great skill in taking control of the center of the ring. Listening to the crowd chant his name, he kept Lemieux fighting at his limit. Lemieux showed great audacity in attempting to penetrate Golovkin's guard, but without any success. Still at the center of the ring, both took turns momentarily as the aggressor of the match. In the final minute, Lemieux faced real tension when Golovkin landed a pair of powerful punches that repeatedly sent him crashing against the ropes. Round 2, Golovkin's relentless left hand broke the ice in the second round. In the center of the ring, the fighters exchanged punches to claim control over the pace of the fight. Lemieux's combinations began to take prominence, while Golovkin patiently waited for his chance to strike. When it came, Lemieux had no choice but to start backing up. With blows aimed at his head, Golovkin countered every bit of Lemieux's momentum. During the last 30 seconds, a punishing combination sent the Canadian's back crashing against the ropes and forced him to raise his guard to avoid serious injury. Round 3, Lemieux opened the third round with sharp body combinations. Using his waist movements, he tried to dodge Golovkin's relentless counterattacks. By mid-round, his efforts seemed to wane, as Golovkin pushed him up against the ropes. 2 minutes in, Golovkin landed a solid left uppercut that sent the Canadian's head back. Out of pure survival instinct, Lemieux clung to Golovkin's body. Once Willis separated them, Lemieux tried to keep Golovkin at a distance by working with his left hand. Still, he closed the round by taking a brutal left hook directly to the face. Round 4, Lemieux attempted to start the 4th round aggressively, but in the center of the ring, he clashed with Golovkin's merciless offense. Realizing he couldn't subdue him, the Canadian again tried to clinch. Lemieux's left hand actively sought Golovkin's chin, but he seemed unable to reach it. Meanwhile, Golovkin paved his way to victory with short combinations aimed at Lemieux's head.
Watch your head.
At 1 minute and 40 seconds, a deadly hook crashed into the Canadian's face, shocking everyone in the arena. Now against the ropes, Lemieux raised his guard, managing to slip to the side. Nevertheless, he was cornered and this time pummeled by a barrage of punishing blows. The Canadian seemed defenseless, waiting to be saved by the bell. Round 5, Madison Square Garden opened the 5th round, chanting Golovkin's name. Meanwhile, Golovkin pushed the Canadian against the ropes. Lemieux continued his lateral movements, trying to avoid facing his inevitable end. Still, Golovkin stayed close, like a true predator, landing power punches along the way. Entering the last 30 seconds of the round, Lemieux had only the ropes behind him and chose to cover his head, bracing for the blow of a titan. After slipping sideways, he backed into the center of the ring and dropped to one knee, seeming to bow before the monarch who had already subdued him. With both gloves on the canvas, Willis began the safety count to give the Canadian a chance to rise with honor and continue fighting. What appeared to be a surrender amid agony paused at the count of 8 when Lemieux got up. With just 3 more seconds, Lemieux was charged and cornered where the bell was not enough to save him. Fortunately, Willis jumped in between them, allowing Lemieux to walk back to his corner. Round 6, Lemieux hadn't even advanced to the center of the ring when, in the 6th round, he was met with the blows of a ruthless Golovkin. Within mere seconds, he was trapped against the ropes, resorting to clinching as a survival tactic. Occasionally, Lemieux extended his left hand to reaffirm his stance as a fighter. Otherwise, he was little more than a moving punching bag for Golovkin to strike at will. Missing most of his counterattacks, the physical and mental strain was beginning to show on the Canadian. Meanwhile, Golovkin's power punches were becoming ever more precise. Round 7. Golovkin had tired of playing and entered the 7th round to finish the fight. He focused his repeated attacks on Lemieux's head until Willis called for a timeout so the ring doctor could assess the Canadian's injuries.
Hey, time! Come here, David. Come here. Doctor!
Lemieux's nose was like a fountain, blood covering his face. After a brief evaluation, he was allowed to continue. But now, Golovkin had a clear target for his infamous fists. Lemieux's vulnerability had been exposed, and like any beast, the scent of blood only drew Golovkin in further. Round 8. The conclusion of this brutal encounter came in the 8th round. Golovkin left his corner with a more methodical approach. He stayed close to the Canadian, who was now throwing his last punches like desperate, drowning kicks. When Golovkin's left hand started crashing into Lemieux's body, the countdown began. Golovkin cornered Lemieux against the ropes, launching a series of attacks that Willis interrupted. In a desperate attempt to escape sideways, Lemieux staggered and nearly fell to the canvas. It was clear he didn't have the strength to stay on his feet. For this reason, Willis stopped the fight. At 1 minute and 32 seconds, Gennadiy Golovkin defeated David Lemieux by technical knockout. Closing. If you made it this far, thank you. Remember, there's no better way to support my content than by leaving a like on the video. What was your favorite moment of this fight? What other Gennadiy Golovkin fight would you like me to feature on the channel? Let me know in the comments.